In the Harry Potter spin-off, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, J.K. Rowling adapts her magical textbook to teach us a few things about our non-magical world. The story is full of analogies and metaphor, like the Obscurest and the wizard who hates muggles or no-mages, and Rowling uses these to sum up society's and history's biggest threats. Fragmented us versus them culture, the might is right mentalities of dictators, and the repression that leads to antisocial individuals and societies.
Mr. Scamander, do you know anything about the wizarding community in America?
I do know a few things, actually. I know that you have rather backwards laws about relations with non-magic people. That you're not meant to befriend them, that you can't marry them, which seems mildly absurd to me.
Who's gonna marry him?
Rowling's power as a writer is that this depth is hidden in what appears at first to be a sugary escape. Rowling wants us to imagine that underneath our world is another layer of reality, other forces that embody what's playing out before our muggle eyes in somehow more fundamental or primal ways.
My heroes are always people who feel themselves to be set apart, stigmatized, or othered. That's at the heart of most of what I write. And it's certainly at the heart of this movie.
Directed by Potter's David Yates, the story of Newt Scamander's visit to New York with his suitcase of illegal magical creatures is a distant cousin to Harry's. But the tone of Fantastic Beasts makes watching the movie feel a lot like reading a Harry Potter book.
For those people that are fans of the Harry Potter world, it's taking all of that imagination and taking it to a place, taking it to the 1920s, to New York.
In her first screenplay, just like in her novels, Rowling gives us a mix of genres that's recognizably hers. Light and dark, sometimes goofy and made for kids, sometimes on the border of feeling too mature for a young audience. Note the use of a wand to imply an erection.
Oh, all no magics like you.
No. I'm the only one like me.
In Fantastic Beasts, a perfect example of Rowling's power for symbolism is her Obscurest. It's an uncontrollable, lethal force that's created when a young wizard tries to suppress his or her powers. The Obscurest is a clear metaphor for the dangers of repression.
What she does so extraordinarily is she understands what it is to be an outsider. She understands what it is to not be included in the human experience somehow. She understands the danger of oppression and the danger of intolerance.
The Latin root obscurus means dark, in contrast to the implied lux, or light, of a wizard's inner magic.
Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times, if one only remembers to turn on the light.
It also evokes our English verb to obscure, or to cover or conceal, suggesting the dangers of covering or bottling up what's inside us.
His name's Credence. His mother beats him. She beats all those kids she's adopted, but she seems to hate him the most.
Here, the abused, beaten down Credence is the magical equivalent of a mentally disturbed serial killer.
Credence is a part of this society that is trying to stamp out irregularity in the human race.
Your mother was a wicked.
Through this Obscurest, Rowling explains antisocial behavior in the non-magical world. If we're conditioned to fear and condemn our inner potential, we experience an unconscious, unstoppable backlash within ourselves. It's interesting to note that Credence may not be the first obscurial that Potterheads have encountered. Rowling brought up the dangers of intolerance through Albus Dumbledore's sister, Ariana. Ariana Dumbledore isn't explicitly called an obscurial, but her life and death mimic Credence's journey. After she's attacked by muggles, Ariana lives in hiding, fearing her power until she explodes. She ends up killing her mother, just as Credence kills his adopted mother. And also like Credence, she dies at the hands of powerful wizards, who are fighting about how magic fits with the non-magical world.
That's your sister Ariana, isn't it? She died very young, didn't she?
My brother sacrificed many things, Mr. Potter, on his journey to find power, including Ariana.
Throughout the Potter series, this problem of intolerance is at the root of all the wars, violence, and pain that plague the magical world.
Filthy little mudblood.
And repression isn't just dangerous for individuals, but also for societies. The attempt at total control, whether it's one's own self or a whole society, leads to the dangerous resurgence of repressed power as evil. Rowling links Credence's story of personal repression to the U.S. historical landscape of puritanical witch hunting.
Strange things going on all over the city. The people behind this, they are not like you and me. This is witchcraft, don't you see?
In her magical 1926 New York, the vicious anti-witch climate has forced wizards underground. The magical authorities impose segregation between wizards and muggles, or no-mages, as we Americans apparently call them.
The no-mage?
What?
No magic. The non-wizard.
Sorry, we call them muggles.
I never really talked to a no-mage before.
Huh. Really?
Then, on the opposite end of the spectrum, the unapologetically evil Grindelwald shows the dangers of too little control. The magical world's version of Hitler spreads the ideology of wizard blood superiority.
I ask all of you, who does this law protect? Us? Or them? I refuse to bow down any longer.
Grindelwald rejects the need for self-control or protection of the less powerful.
There is an element to Grindelwald that has a kind of fascistic qualities. He has a brutality to him. He believes in the superiority of the wizarding community over the Muggle community, and he's ruthless.
This narcissistic love of one's own magical ability is just as dangerous as fearing it.
With this inside you, Credence, is a miracle. You are a miracle.
Pureblood worship leads to cruel abuses of power.
Mass slaughter for the greater good, you mean?
Yes.
In both extremes, a person's blood, or how they're born, here represented by magic, decides everything. Rowling's wizard versus no-mage divide echoes the polarized politics of today, as well as, frighteningly, the rise of fascism and the onset of World War II in the decade after Fantastic Beasts is set. The word itself, no-mage, in contrast to Harry's friendlier British term, muggle, reinforces this divide. There are those with magic and those without. It's us versus them. In the puritanical witch hunt, the person with special powers is oppressed. In Grindelwald's fascist eugenics, it's the person without powers. But in Newt's world of Fantastic Beasts, we embrace a diverse array of natures. The movie teaches us, if we didn't already learn it from Hagrid, that the key to the care of magical creatures is to accept the inevitable chaos and moderate destruction that comes with animals just being themselves.
What Newt believes is he sees the wonder and the brilliance in these animals, and he believes that the wizarding community with a proper education could learn to live side by side with these animals and appreciate how extraordinary they are.
Newt's beasts aren't bad or harmful, really, but they're a little wild and crazy by nature. They're never going to be totally orderly and in control. Existing with others, be they humans or other species, is living with a measure of disorder. Yes, fantastic beasts must be controlled, but in moderation, just as our natures must be controlled by society's laws and regulations, but not suppressed by fear and self-loathing.
They're currently in alien terrain, surrounded by millions of the most vicious creatures on the planet. Humans.
Newt's understanding of difference echoes not only the creature-friendly Hagrid, but also Albus Dumbledore, the moral center of Potter's world. Like Newt, Dumbledore preaches tolerance and the coexistence of magical beings, wizards, and muggles.
Why then did the Sorting Hat place you in Gryffindor?
Because I asked it to.
Exactly, Harry, exactly. Which makes you different from Voldemort. It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
But unlike Newt, Dumbledore takes time to reach this perspective. Before Ariana dies, Dumbledore is working with Grindelwald, with the goal of taking over the wizarding world and making muggles subservient. His sister's death teaches Dumbledore that power was my weakness and temptation.
What makes Albus Dumbledore so fond of you?
When Graves, who turns out to be Grindelwald, references Dumbledore, this resonates more deeply when we consider that Newt is here a stand-in for Dumbledore's ultimate philosophy of tolerance. As backstory from Potter, we know that Grindelwald and Dumbledore have already fallen out at this stage. We also know from the history stated in Potter that Dumbledore will end up defeating and incarcerating Grindelwald in a duel in 1945. The same year that World War II ends and Hitler's fascism and genocide are brought down. The shot of an ostrich running inexplicably through Central Park captures the feeling we get throughout Fantastic Beasts. We're seeing a version of our world that's enjoyably unhinged, yet still reflects our deeper reality. At the end, we, the audience, like Kowalski, wake from a dream about our friends, but we feel the movie stays with us, closer to our world than we'd ever imagine.
I want to be a wizard.